How's it going, folks? My name is Joseph Igo, and today we are doing my NASCAR Cup Series power rankings. So we've got 4 races under our belt now, so a little bit of a better idea where everybody stands with, kind of 2 races at the beginning of the season. Both are super speedways, kind of tough to tell where everybody lies when you go to those types of tracks. Then you go to a road course like COTA, and even then, you did see a lot of the similar players up front because it is a lot more of a skill based racetrack. But road courses tend to be a little more, you know, what's the right word? More of a specialty like type skill. Like there's some drivers who are like the best in NASCAR who obviously are not very good on those types of tracks. So uh, after Phoenix, we feel like we have a little better of a feel of where everybody lies heading into more of our traditional tracks like your Las Vegases, your Homestead, Darlington, Martinsville. We got a little bit of a good idea. So with that, I guess let's just get on into it. So for my 10th ranked driver in the NASCAR Cup Series, I've got Denny Hamlin. So if there are a couple things that you just change with Denny Hamlin so far. He was leading the Daytona 500, finishes second at Phoenix. You change those two results, he could be 1, 2, or 3 on this list. But unfortunately for Denny, things have not gone his way so far this season, but has been able to figure it out when it matters and put himself in contention when it matters, even though it hasn't gone his way. I definitely think his first win is probably coming in the next couple weeks, but who knows? We'll have to see how those results stack up. But the speed certainly appears to be there for the 11, while a lot of people were questioning it coming into the season. Coming in at number 9, I've got Alex Bowman. 3 top 10s in his first 4 races. I will say, though, I was a little, not shocked, but a little surprised he didn't run better at COTA. Did come home with a ninth place finish there, but I thought he was going to probably run inside the top 5 and probably have a chance to win. But unfortunately, a couple breaks there did not go his way. He got a couple track limit penalties, so tough break there for the 48 car. But even a 26th place in Atlanta, he was leading a row at one point towards the front of the field. So he's shown speed every single week, and this is kind of what we've come to expect with Alex Bowman. Like, he's not going to necessarily always show race winning speed, but he's always going to have that, a 5th to 10th place speed on most weekends. And obviously, things have to go your way to get those finishes every week. They don't always go your way, or his way, I mean, but this is what we've come to expect with Alex Bowman, with just consistently a top 10 guy, and that's what he's shown so far. One of the big surprises of the 2025 Cup season so far has been Carson Hocevar, and I don't think this is really a huge surprise if you were looking at the end of last year, because you started to see the signs of what has transpired towards the end of last year. I know, like at Homestead, he ran really well. I believe he ran well at Las Vegas, if I'm not mistaken, at the end of last year. So he was stacking a lot of really solid runs. But now, I mean, it's like he's running inside the top 5, at least at one point or another the past couple weeks. You just take a look at his results. 30th at Daytona, doesn't really he really wasn't in the mix there. But then you got your second place at Atlanta, where had that caution not come out, who knows? Maybe he would have raced in one at the line. So who knows there? 13th place at COTA, not really a place you would have expected him to be good, but I think a 13th place isn't that bad, to be honest. And then he wrecked out of yesterday's race at Phoenix, but he was running inside the top 3 at one point. Ends up falling back to I think 6th or 7th, and then I don't remember exactly what happened after that. But then he wrecks out. But yeah, no, Hocevar has shown a ton of speed, way more than I thought he was going to, and yeah, I think that first win is knocking at the moment. We'll see if it comes this year, but I think if he keeps putting himself in the positions that he's been putting himself in, I think it's only a matter of time before that first win comes. Chase Elliott coming in at number 7. The results, yeah, he's finished top 10 the last 2 weeks, 10th place yesterday at Phoenix, for a pretty impressive 4th place finish at COTA. And then the first 2 weeks at Atlanta and Phoenix, or Atlanta and Daytona did not go the way that he would have liked to as far as the results are concerned. But especially at like Daytona, he ran very well at Daytona. Just got shuffled out and got caught up in a wreck. That's what just happens at Daytona. You can't really control it, but certainly showed the speed at Daytona to potentially win, and obviously won the Clash. But we're not really. It's something, but it's not much. The Clash, that is. But he did show a lot of speed there. So, I mean, kind of like Alex Bowman, Chase Elliott notorious being in the top 10 every single week, even if he's not winning frequently. I think he'll probably get a couple wins this season, more than he did last year. It's just a matter of, not making the mistake and making sure you're up front when it matters. And I think there's some racetracks coming up that I think he certainly could do that. I look at maybe like a Martinsville or a Darlington. He ran well even at Homestead last year. I thought I could even have made the argument at Homestead in the fall that he may have had the best car in the field. So what we shall see on Chase Elliott, but solid start to the year. Certainly has a lot of speed, but he's got to put it all together and get that win. Now coming in at number 6, I've got Kyle Larson at 6. And it hasn't been checkers or wreckers for Larson, but it's been close. He finished 20th at Daytona, even though he ran fairly well at Daytona, all things considered. But that's not really his type of racing. Goes to Atlanta the next week, similar type of racing, ends up getting 3rd. And like Hocevar, maybe would have won that race had the caution came out at a different time or had they been allowed to race in the line. But, and then I don't remember exactly what happened to him at COTA. I have it written down as a 32nd here. He may have wrecked out of that. I'm forgetting. But then yesterday, finishes 3rd in Phoenix. I thought, as those last 2 laps were going down, I thought he had a chance to potentially win that race. But we all know how good Kyle Larson is. We know those wins are going to come one way or another. But yeah, I have him at 6 right now. I know eventually he'll be coming up. He'll be jumping up on this list. But it's just a matter of getting more of these traditional tracks, laying them or lining them up and knocking them down, because he hasn't had some, like the first 2 tracks, obviously not really his forte. COTA, more of his forte, but still had a little wacky of a day. And then Phoenix can be a little hit or miss for Larson. So now we're entering the part of the schedule where I expect him to be running top 3 or 5, no doubt. And I'm sure we'll start to see that this weekend at Las Vegas, a place he has made his playground essentially. So didn't win the last race. That was won by Logano, but had won, I believe, the prior 2 races at Las Vegas. So certainly going to be a factor this coming weekend, no doubt. Another guy who I think will be a factor this coming weekend is Tyler Reddick. Finished on the bumper of Kyle Larson last spring in Las Vegas, and had that race been another lap or 2 longer, I think Reddick probably would have won. And then after next week at Las Vegas, we'll have Homestead, where obviously he won his last race in the fall there. As far as his finishes are concerned, a solid 2nd place finish in the Daytona 500, even though that was a little, not Mickey Mouse, it was just a little lucky, but that's racing, avoided the wreck and ended up with a 2nd place finish. So the points are the points that you get from that. So they don't care how you get them. So 2nd place at Daytona. I have it written down as, I believe, at either a 19th or a 14th at Atlanta. But even though he was running pretty solidly at times at Atlanta, but didn't have that race-winning speed, last week was very much in contention for the win and that 4-car battle for the lead as the laps were winding down at COTA. And then yesterday, had he not gotten a penalty speeding on pit road, I think he was definitely going to be in the mix to win yesterday. Just unfortunate break there with the penalty. I thought he was one of the 3 or 4 best cars on the day at Phoenix yesterday. And I thought had he been able to maintain that track position on a couple of those final restarts, I think he definitely would have at least had a say in the ending there. But who knows if he would have won. But yeah, I got Tyler Reddick at 5 right now. Obviously, I think as kind of similar to those past few guys, now you're going to start seeing those tracks where he's really good at. And I think those numbers are just going to continue to improve. So coming in at number 4, we got Ryan Blaney. Blaney, I keep saying about a lot of these other guys, these are the tracks coming up where you're going to start seeing uh, some of these guys really excel, because it's kind of been a hit or miss these past couple weeks. But I mean, Blaney, obviously a really good super speedway racer, finished seventh and fourth at Daytona and Atlanta, respectively. I believe it was a 19th place finish at COTA. Not really a place you expect Blaney to run well anyway. So I honestly think that's almost even a better result than I would have expected. But not that I was really expecting anything from him at COTA. But then unfortunately yesterday, wrecks out, blows an engine uh, late there in stage three, comes home, I believe, 28th. And yeah, and that's a disappointing result for Blaney given how good he is at Phoenix. And I mean, that was the end of 7 straight top 5 finishes there at Phoenix. Not what you really want to see from Blaney, but we all know how good he is. We saw he was running like, I think, as high as like 5th or 6th at times before that engine blew. So not really his fault that he was not in the mix, but certainly just not the result you want to see if you're Ryan Blaney at Phoenix. But I have pretty solid optimism going forward for Blaney that his win will come in the next month or two, probably. So, all right, now into the top three. At number 3, I've got Kyle Busch. Yes, so Kyle Busch has been in contention to win, or maybe not win every race, but certainly in contention to compete for the win in every single race this season. 34th place at Daytona, can't help getting wrecked out. Um, he was a victim of that Ricky Stenhouse, Joey Logano incident there in the closing laps of Daytona 500. He was running up there at the front when it mattered. So things that are out of your control at super speedways, he just fell victim to that. Did not fall victim at Atlanta, finishing 7th, another place where I thought he was going to contend for the win. Wasn't really a factor at the end, but was in the mix. And then last week, very impressive at COTA, to be honest. I wasn't really expecting him to be in the mix. Obviously finished 5th and was arguably the dominant car for much of that day at Circuit of the Americas, but wasn't able to. He got on the wrong end of the strategy there at the end compared to Christopher Bell and ends up with a 5th place. And then yesterday at Phoenix ends up 8th, which I feel like is a better finish comparatively to his more recent results at Phoenix. So I mean, this is kind of like a Chase Elliott situation where he ended last year really good and started this year pretty good. That's kind of how I view Kyle Busch's situation right now, and I believe it's now 61 races since he won a race, and I have a feeling sooner rather than later he is going to get his first win of the season and break that winless streak. So. Coming at number 2, I've got William Byron, obviously your winner of the Daytona 500, then wrecked out of the Atlanta race when his teammate Kyle Larson wrecked Austin Cindric as they were racing for the lead, and Byron was in 3rd. So not really his fault for that 27th place finish. He had put himself in contention to win, and then gets a 2nd place finish last week at COTA, another track he almost won at, and then this week finishes 6th at Phoenix. He actually, I thought, had a top 3 car on the day. I believe he fell victim to being on pit road when a caution came out, and I believe that put him a lap down. Don't quote me on it because I was at the race. So I saw Byron, because Byron's pit stall was like literally directly in front of me. I saw him going into pit, and then the caution came out, and I knew immediately. I was like, oh, that's not going to be good for him. And I do remember him taking the wave around on one of the cautions. So I know he got screwed on that, but yeah, it still came out with a 6th place finish. I think it's pretty impressive for William Byron, all things considered. But yeah, I mean, this is just typical Byron at the beginning of the season. He always runs good in the beginning of the season. All you got to do if you're William Byron in the 24 team is basically fill that middle gap, because how things have gone for William Byron, it's like the beginning of the year is really good, the end of the year is pretty good. That middle section is where it tends to go haywire for them. If they are able to bridge that gap, sky's the limit for this team. I definitely, at the moment, see them as a Championship 4 favorite, maybe not to win, but certainly a favorite to be in the Championship 4, no doubt. This would be, I think, his 3rd consecutive Championship 4, if I'm not mistaken. So, great stuff for William Byron. But at number 1, was it ever going to be anybody else? I mean, Christopher Bell, 3 consecutive wins. My goodness, sir. And this could even be 4 consecutive wins had the Daytona 500 gone his way and not gotten turned by Cole Custer with that aggressive shove with 5 laps to go. We could be sitting here talking about Bell going for his 5th consecutive win next week at Las Vegas, but it's going to be his 4th consecutive try at a win next week in Vegas. And I think I'm predicting it right now. I think he's going to go win that race because just look at how good he was in the fall there at Vegas. Only reason he didn't win that race was because he got on the wrong end of the strategy there with Joey Logano, and if he needed maybe 3 or 4 more laps to catch him, and also didn't help that Logano got caught up to his teammate Ryan Blaney, who was like 3 laps down at the time and was able to play like blocker for him. So yeah, I fully expect Christopher Bell to go win next week, and that's crazy to say, and it'll be his 4th consecutive win if he's able to get it done. But this is what I expected for Christopher Bell coming into the season. I said that I predicted he would be the championship favorite and at least win 5 races, and 3 wins already. Could even be 4 had things gone his way at Daytona, and I see no reason to suspect he won't be one of the favorites next week, probably the week after at Homestead, and probably the next couple weeks after that. So I think we're looking at a monster season loading for Christopher Bell, and yeah. So with that being said, thank y'all so much for watching. Please like and subscribe, and take care, everybody. God bless.